Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 21st, 2026 edition of the Clawson City Council. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I am going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I invite those who wish to join me to do so.
Allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Our next item is words of inspiration, and it is my honor to give the words of inspiration tonight. Doing the right thing simply because it is right is one of the highest responsibilities of public service. That raises an important question. How do we know what the right thing is? While reasonable people may differ on the answer, our decisions should be guided by the enduring principles rather than personal preferences. We must remember that every item on tonight's agenda affects the people of Clawson, and their well-being should be the compass that guides us. At a minimum, we are obligated to act lawfully and be responsible stewards of the public's resources. But our responsibility does not end there. We must also ensure that every resident, especially those who are most vulnerable, are treated with dignity, fairness, and respect. So, may our compass be integrity, our map the law, and our guide the trust of those we serve. When the path is uncertain, may we choose not the easiest road, but the one we can walk with a clear conscience. All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Moffett,
Present.
Councilmember Duberstein,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Here.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Here.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Here.
Councilmember Spisak,
Here.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Here.
All right, we are all present and accounted for. Next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I make approval of the agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Duberstein,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spisak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett.
Yes. All right, we have just approved our agenda. The next item on the agenda is public comment for items on the agenda. If you would like to speak about items on the agenda, I invite you to the podium. You will be given 4 minutes to speak. We ask that you state your name and whether or not you're a resident of this fair city. I'll remind you that this is not a back and forth, but we will make a note of the comments that you make and make an earnest effort to address those when that agenda item comes up. Having said that, if you would like to speak to items on the agenda, please come forward to the podium.
Good evening, Jamie Gills, Takanochi, Clawson resident. First, I would like to thank all of you for voting to delay sending the letters out and bringing it back for discussion. I think that was really important, and I appreciate that during the last conversation, several of you recognized concerns with the timeline and the lack of the appeal process. I think these are important first steps, and I'm grateful that you're taking another look before moving forward. Over the past 2 weeks, I've spent a great deal of time researching this issue, reviewing the charter and ordinances, talking with residents, and reading residents' concerns and proposed solutions shared on social media. I've also talked to civil engineers and lawyers. Some of the questions and ideas I'm sharing tonight came directly from those community discussions online, while others were reinforced by what I heard from the residents. From what has been presented publicly, the only path we've seen discussed is placing the financial burden on the 102 affected property owners. I believe there are other options worth exploring before asking those property owners to bear the burden alone. Has the city explored coordinating repairs to reduce costs through bulk bidding? Have we reached out to Oakland County, the Water Resource Commission, the state or federal to find out if there are grants, financing, or other assistance that may be available? Has cost sharing been considered? During the last meeting, it was mentioned that public funds cannot be used for private property. My research suggests this issue is more nuanced than that. Across Michigan, public funds are used on privately owned infrastructure when there is a broader public benefit. Lead service line replacement programs. Detroit's use of HUD funding to replace private water and sewer service lines, and Oakland County's Rain Smart programs are all examples of this. I'm not suggesting Clausen is required to fund these repairs. I'm asking that we not view this as an all-or-nothing situation and consider whether some form of cost-sharing could protect the city's sewer infrastructure while reducing the burden on affected property owners. The proposal letter also requires affected property owners to obtain a permit and pay an additional $100 permit fee. For people already facing several $1,000s on unexpected repair costs, this fee just adds insult to injury. Waiving that fee won't solve the larger problem, but it would at least acknowledge the hardship many are facing and show that the city is willing to help. Finally, in reviewing the charter, I've not been able to find a definition of private drain. I've also haven't found definitions for sewer tap, private sanitary sewer lead, or service connection. Before council asks property owners to spend thousands of dollars, I think it's important that both council and property owners have a clear understanding of exactly what component is considered private and the legal authority supporting that conclusion. I know this is a difficult issue, and I appreciate that you're taking time to revisit it. Ultimately, the question before you tonight is whether every reasonable option has been explored before asking 102 property owners to bear this financial burden alone. And as you make that decision, I ask that you pause for a moment. Center the experiences of the people who will live with your decision. And ask yourselves whether your decision reflects the spirit of the city with the big heart. I think that the mayor's words of inspiration kind of lead into all that. Are we thinking of everyone? Are we exploring all options? Are we letting integrity lead, or are we letting dollar signs lead? Thank you.
Same issue. I'm John Dana Schneider II, 94 Charlotte Street, Clausen, Michigan. And she just told me how many residents were affected by this, letters on the door. I wasn't aware of what damage could have come or apocalyptic event will happen if said changes weren't made or property wasn't changed or lines weren't changed. The letter was not that informative to me. Apparently, the person before me kind of explained a little more for me, so I understood a little better, but it's still not clear cut of what damage it could possibly do if I don't take care of my side of it. Do you remember the lead lines in Flint when they tried to use Port Huron's water instead of Detroit's water? When they pulled the lever, catastrophe happened. It did. Lead lines were ruined because the chemicals that kept the lead lines intact were ruined. Now, the Flint residents, I'm just curious, were we facing the same situation all the residents of Flint were, and were those residents also immune or not immune to what you're suggesting? Were those residents told they had to spend $12,000 to $18,000 in their homes? If they were told that they would have to spend that type of money, they would most likely be evicted. Because I lived in Flint. I lived in Grand Blanc on the south side of Flint. I've been there. I've been in the neighborhoods, okay, when I grew up. Graduated from Grand Blanc High School. Ask yourself that about the federal government and what they stepped in to do and what you can step in to do. Because I know 102 people can definitely attain a lawyer that's better than someone from Harvard. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Linda Hale, 940 West Selfridge. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm just here to say I don't know who these 100-plus residents are. I may be one of them, but they're all our neighbors. And if I'm one of them, you can't get that money out of my Social Security. I'm not going to be able to pay that kind of money. I'm also here to say that trust is, once it's broken, it's not easily rebuilt. And, you know, out of the 100 or so, 102 residents, I'm not sure that our infrastructure and the people that have scoped all those residences, I don't know that I've trusted their judgment that each of those people, that their taps are broken or whatever it is. Because I know of one person, this is my own personal experience, and if I know of one person, then I wonder how many other people. I know of one resident that this company came and they scoped their property. And once they scoped it, they said, okay, everything's fine here. And, you know, our infrastructure is so poor. They scoped their front and they said, everything's good, and they took off. And what happened afterwards? Their plumbing backed up. And their pipes crumbled. And the sewer backed up to their household. And so when they did their laundry or when they ran their water, it all backed up. And they said, what happened? It was right after they finished scoping their front yard. And they said, all of a sudden, that happened. And they said, something's wrong. So they called the plumber. The plumber came out and they said, we need to take a camera here. So they took the camera. They went all the way out. And they went out to where the AE, whatever those people are that scoped it. And sure enough, right where they ended their scope is where it all crumbled. They called the DPW. They said, oh no, that couldn't be right. They said, it is right. We're going to show you. They said, well, you better prove it. So they came and they showed the pictures from Royal Oak Plumbing. And they said, sure enough. So the DPW had to come out. They called the company that did it. And there was a big issue, and they had to fix all the sewer and all the plumbing and all the works, and maybe the tap line. I don't know. I'm not a plumber, and I don't know of all this, but they had to fix it. So my trust has been broken. Maybe those other 100 people, maybe their system was broken by that same company. I don't know. Maybe we need to investigate that. But I don't think that those people, our neighbors, maybe myself, maybe whoever the rest of them are, I don't think that they should bear that burden. The city needs to figure out something. I think it's a terrible thing. Let's figure out something. We've got a bigger heart than this. That's all I have to say.
Good evening. Jennifer, Clausen resident. I'm going to kind of piggyback on what Mr. Graham Blink said, and as well as that beautiful silver fox back there. So with regard to the Flint 2017, we actually were proactive getting our house waterproofed, and the contractor actually broke by just shrapnel the lead line in my basement. The city went back and forth with the contractor, and it was amicable. However, the city said at that time, if anybody's relevant with Mr. Harry Drinkwine, raise your hand. No? Okay. That young man, and I'll call him young man, fought for us. They wanted to patch it. Can't patch it. So with that being said, my project was in and around, for what I was doing before the breakage, was $17,000. And I had my whole basement waterproofed, hear me out, with walls being rebuilt, etc., 2 sump pumps. The city's contractor at the time, I'm not sure if you guys still have them, Sunrise, came in and replaced the whole lead line from my meter to the connection for about $1,500. So I have a problem with that. If you're gonna throw 12 grand at my community, my people, my seniors, my friends, I got a problem with that. There's a better way. And that was with the removal of a big, tall, perfect maple tree. And I can provide photos of that. Didn't plan on talking about that, but Grand Blanc, thank you, you reminded me. Because they didn't want to put my children in jeopardy. $1,500, Sunrise, does this ring a bell to anybody here? You don't have to agree, you can look it up. And I still have the invoices. 1,500, folks. That sound better than 12 grand? Okay, all right. So I'm gonna leave it at that on this topic. I'll be back up for more.
Hello, Karen Knutson, Clausen resident, 26 years. I know a lot of people aren't going to like what I say, but this is the truth. The crock pipes, which carry our sewage from our houses to the roads, pretty much, if you have a house over 50 years, which is most of Clausen, you're going to need that replaced eventually. You guys just happened to run a system that caught a bunch of them. Well, I can guarantee you every one of those is going to go bad. Mine went bad, and yes, it was $15,000. My daughter, I've been around plumbing since the 70s, okay? My daughter's father's family owned Nelson Brothers Plumbing. I know how this works. You're going to get the same price pretty much from every plumber. It's not going to matter. The only thing that matters is the distance they have to replace the crock with the PVC. But it's always been the owner's responsibility from their house to the street. That has always been the deal. So anybody that's up in arms about, oh, we have to pay it, you're going to have to pay it when it breaks the whole way and you get a basement full of sewage. If I would imagine several of these are broken already, and they've had some backup problems, and they just get it snaked and they don't worry. And, you know, that can work for a while, but eventually the whole thing caves in. So, well, it doesn't seem fair to 108 people. It doesn't seem fair from my end to have already gone through the process and had this money paid to the plumber and the $100 permit and everything, for these other people to not have to pay to do what is commonly known in every city when that part breaks. That's just how it is everywhere. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Greg Kucera. I live at 239 North Main Street, which is 4 houses that way from where we're standing right now. Most of you know me. Those that don't, brief history. I've spent most of my 70 years living in Clausen. 7 years I was on the Zoning Board of Appeals up there. I spent 4 years on council, as you people are doing right now. And for the past 11 years, I've been in the Planning Commission. And I'm currently the chair of the Planning Commission. My concern is not the water that everybody else is talking about. My concern is agenda item 8C, the appointment of Scott Manning to the Planning Commission. I'd like to thank all of you. I sent an email out last week and got each of your responses. And I think you're kind of on my side in agreement. I'm endorsing Erin Redmond for the PC. The reasoning is she's got 5.5 years on the PC. She's done that, and she's been very good, excellent person at it. Excuse me. She's also a Clausen resident for 14 years. She's extremely qualified, in my opinion. My concern in this matter is if you look in your packet on page 25, you'll find the application for the Planning Commission made by Mr. Manning. The home address line is blank. There's no address on there. And then right below it, it says residency is required on the form. That's not there. There's a line that says, how many years have you been in Clawson? He put in 3+ years. The address that's been used for a lot of his things, I think when he was running for council, was 442 North Marias. It's not his house, not his residence. That's owned by the Clawson United Methodist Church. It's a piece of church property that I think they're renting out to someone else. Actually, I believe that Mr. Manning lives in Washington, Michigan, which is in Macomb County. Now, I'm not exactly sure how you can live in Macomb County and be a registered voter in Oakland County, but he's accomplished it somehow, and he ran for office before. His background, as opposed to Aaron Redmond's background, he's spent 1 year from 2015 to 2016 on the Planning Commission of the Village of Constantine, Michigan. He's got 1 year history in it. And I would like, I know you're not going to respond to me now, but I would like you, specifically the mayor, to tell me where's your reasoning for the selection? Why would you take someone very experienced and replace them with someone with less experience? I'm not sure why you want to do that. We have to look closer at our applicants. You have to vet them, make sure that they're putting truth on the piece of paper that they're signing. Vetting should be looked at a lot closer. I encourage a no vote on this agenda item. That's just where I stand on it. The city attorney might give us an opinion on what the word residency means. I mean, do you actually have to live in the city? I believe you do. That's where I stand. That's pretty much all I have now. Good luck on the votes, and hope to see you guys all at the car show.
Contrary to the last person's
Please state your name
presentations.
and whether or not you're a resident.
Scott Manning, resident of Clawson, 442 North Marias. My name is not on the deed, but it is my residence. It is a residence owned by the United Methodist Church. I'm a United Methodist clergy, and part of my job provides housing. So I am a resident of Clawson. I lived in Washington Township from 2016 until June 2022. I am a resident of this city. I am a registered voter of this county and of this city. The clerk would have denied me on the candidacy last year if I were not a resident. But I am a resident of this city.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to items on the agenda?
Good evening, everybody. Katie Terrell, Clawson resident. I want to address the TAP. Thank you all for pushing this conversation, allowing this to happen, allowing us to come up to the podium and speak about it after all the online discussion. I think that's really important. I want to make sure I have this correct before your discussion today. If the resident with letter in hand who believes the city could have been at fault for their tap being disconnected or damaged in any way, it is the resident's responsibility to contest the compliance notice and affirmatively demonstrate that the city or contractor work was the approximate cause of the failure. Will the residents be able to access the CCTV and records of the city? For those who are replacing the tap, what is the city administration's intention of involvement with helping lower the cost of that construction and replacement by facilitating a bulk bid program? How will the residents who are financially unable to make it happen within contract within 90 days be supported by the administration? Also, Renshaw Apartments, voter language. Just want to make sure that we're all together letting the voters know that there are current senior residents that could be displaced with the sale of the city building. Just want to make sure that's going to be clear-cut language. Thank you all.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak items on the agenda. Gotta get that all out.
Hi, I'm Peggy, Clausen residence. I have a few issues. Number one, Renshaw. The wording for the November ballot, it needs to state exactly what this young lady was saying. I just want to verify that. There's some language that everybody understands the repercussions of voting, for selling it, okay? And then when it comes to the water taps, got very mixed emotions. Somebody said we are homeowners, it is our problem. But then you gotta wonder, is it our problem? I mean, we pay water bills, sewer bills, property taxes. Were our streets properly maintained? All these big, heavy construction trucks that have been outrageous for the last several years could have contributed to the damage. So I just want you to keep that in mind when it comes to whatever happens. There are a lot of people that could even possibly lose their house when it comes to that. If you go and put it on, whatever you want to call that, escrow thingy. But yeah, if you guys could really work hard on helping these people out, that would be really awesome. Thank you. And it's not affected me, so I'm just here for everybody else. That and Renshaw Apartments is my biggest. Oh, and one more thing. Oh, never mind, it's not on the agenda. Good night.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak to items on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm back. Hi, Karen again. The plumbing, the tap thing, I don't think it's fair to give people 90 days. I think, you need to have a lot longer grace period because technically, do you even know how bad the crack is broke, how bad the breaks are? That has a lot to do with how well the sewer functions. You would have to run a camera from in everybody's basement down out to the road to actually inspect what is broken, which is an added expense, but you get it back from a plumber if you choose them to do the work. That's how it works. But I can say I have been in touch with the people at Nelson Brothers. They are more than happy to work with the city or work with people to help get this remedied. But really, here's the other thing. When your sewer goes, you don't get a choice. You don't get 90 days to fix it. You have to fix it right away because your house becomes uninhabitable. So they're getting a little warning. It's not real pleasant to wake up in the morning and realize, uh-oh. And also, as far as the trucks and whatnot damaging these lines, I don't know how many of you have ever seen them dig down to where the pipe is replaced, but generally it's at least 10 feet down. It's not a surface thing that could be broke by heavy weight. This is damaged by our large trees in the neighborhood, roots, and just the fact that it's clay. That's why they went to PVC now, because PVC doesn't react to the weather. It doesn't break like cracks do. And usually, once you have it depends on the crack too. If it's lengthwise, you could get years out of it. If it's widthwise, then it starts to crumble and chop up. So there's a whole lot to this more than, oh, the city's being mean. No, the city's not being mean. This is just, it's natural, and the city happened to catch it for 108 people. Thank you. But does anyone know how many houses have actually had their sewers at the crack repair or at the junction replaced?
This is not a back and forth, but we'll make note of your question.
Okay, yeah, because that would tell a lot about the condition of all the pipes in the city. Thank you.
Hi, Jamie Gills, Tuckanoochee. I've also had a couple more thoughts, so I thought I'd get up and share them. I do want to point out that one of the reasons that has been discussed or written down, I don't know exactly where I saw it, that we have to replace these taps, or our neighbors have to replace these taps, is it because it could damage the sewer system if it is not functional. My question is should not the city also look at their lack of maintenance for our mains? If we could damage the main, could not the lack of maintenance on the mains have damaged the taps, where it should be then the city's responsibility? I've also learned that sometimes tree roots are an issue here. Many of the trees that would be closest to these drains are city trees on the easement, which we have no control over. So if roots are a problem, how do you decide who caused that? And I also want to say that I think that we need to stand together as neighbors. I feel that people get up and speak whether they know it's them or not, even when they know it's not them, because we care about the people in the community. And we voted for all you because we think you do too. And there are really tough decisions to be made, and there's money involved, but there are people involved. And I think it's very disingenuous to say, you know, every city does this, because they don't. Actually, in many city charters and ordinances, they define that line, whether it goes to the tap or not. We do not. We chose not to define it, but you're deciding now where it goes. That's very convenient for the city to all of a sudden know what that definition is without it being anywhere, at least that I could find as I read the charter and the ordinances. So think about the people, right? We help the city a lot. People come out and volunteer. People do a lot of things for the city. We're here, we care. Be nice to know that you also care and that you're willing to meet us halfway sometimes when that's the right thing to do. And I voted for a lot of people sitting up there, and I do believe in you. And I think you are often handed solutions, or what are deemed as solutions to a problem, as the final result. And they're not. They're not. That's your job. So you just step into that role and say, that might not be our final solution, because we have not explored everything. So I thank you for that very much.
Madam Mayor, just point of order, what is the policy of having, is this one individual, one session?
Well, we can talk about that
Okay.
after, and we might clarify that going forward. The first person did not use their entire 4 minutes. The second person did, but we'll flesh that out next meeting with some more explanations on how to approach that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Guess who's back? So I'm gonna speak from my insurance liability hazard inspector hat for 15 years. So if per se, can everyone hear me? I feel like I should be reaching in deeper. If I'm owning the property and I have a backup of sewage, yeah, that's going to be detrimental. It's going to be on me. But some people aren't educated enough in insurance, and feel free to reach out to me. It's no longer my business. However, I insure my basement for $80,000. I have $20K for my lead line sewer pipe, which has been replaced. So with that being said, I hope I have no issue. However, to the left of me, that crack has smelled like you know what for 16 years. A good wind comes in, and I had to close my windows. So, and I mean that wholeheartedly, and if they were here, they'd tell you the same. So I want to know how, based on what I said last time, if I pay a $1,000 deductible at $25, how do you guys, with the contractor, which has to go through city code permits, how do you guys find a contractor or the number of 12,000? How do you find that? I have a huge frontage. My frontage is 75 feet. I know some folks here, they're not even close to that. How do you guys find that calculation to devastate a family in this small city? How? If it's on us, because someone said it, it's on us, it's on us. But you guys are pushing this agenda on 100 and so plus people. And you're getting your data and facts and your bids from whom? We'd like to see that on paper. Clear and concise. I'm insured with actually auto owners. My deductible, if I have a problem, which I shouldn't, because your contractor replaced all my stuff in 2017. So guess who I'm going to go back on? But if I had to, it's $1,000. That sounds a hell of a lot better than $12,000. We want transparency. And yes, like the others, I voted for a lot of you. And I've not gotten any answers for many questions. So this question sounds like the heavy one. Let's see the bids, what they're doing, footages, homes included. We want to see that before any choice is made.
Is there anyone else who's here to speak to items on the agenda?
Peggy, real quick. For the commissioner's seat, I'm sorry, the planning commission seat, I'd just like to say, just by what I heard this evening, I've been to several of those meetings, and Erin Redmond was the only one that asked all the questions, all the right questions. She has the experience, so I'm not sure how you guys decided, about Scott, but you might want to reconsider that because experience says a lot. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andrea, Clausen resident. I emailed everyone and thank you for your responses, those that I heard back from. Regarding the Renshaw Apartments and the ballot language, I think it should say only should we sell or should we not sell, and not why we should sell or what we would do with the money if we did sell. That's, I got a response, I think from Mr. Tinlin, that you can't campaign for one way or the other as council, and that's awesome. But I just wanted to say publicly for my neighbors that will be up to us to organize and get the word out about the ballot initiative, and just say whether, gather with your neighbors. Do you want to sell it or do you not want to sell it, and get the word out? That's our job. That's our responsibility as citizens and residents. So the ballot language should be simple: to sell or not to sell, and then the people can get out and talk to their neighbors and make that determination amongst ourselves when we go to the ballot box. Thank you.
Thank you. One more time, is there anyone else who would like to speak to items on the agenda? All right, seeing no one getting up, I'm going to close public comments. Oh,
Been here 20 years, first time here. I know this isn't SCOTUS, where they can write dissents about opinions in legal matters. And since I've never been here, I didn't know there was no back and forth between the council and the residents. However, it's not a bad idea, somewhat, to have professional debate, legitimate, civil debate. And not heated arguments. That's all I want to really say.
all right. Having closed public comment, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is proclamations and presentations. We have none, so we're moving to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following items: the minutes of the regular city council meeting held on Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. The list of bills, the amount of $1,975,169.97. Consideration of the appointment of Scott Manning to the Planning Commission for a term to expire December 31st, 2026. Consideration of the reappointment of Dan Dwyer to the Historical Commission to expire July 1st, 2029. Consideration of the reappointment of Barbara Hayes to the Historical Commission to expire July 1, 2029.
Madam Mayor, I move the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Duberstein.
Yes.
All right, we have approved our consent agenda as presented, and we move on to item 9A, which is consideration of the first reading of ordinance to amend Clawson Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Article 10, Section 3.1.m, 3.1.n, 3.1.o, 3.1.p, 2.2, 4.47, and 4.48.
Madam Mayor, I move the first reading of the ordinance to amend Clawson Code of Ordinance, Chapter 34, Article X, Section 3.1.m, 3.1.n, 3.1.o, 3.1.p, 2.2, 4.47, and 4.48 be approved.
Support.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The Planning Commission recently approved and recommends the adoption of an amendment to the zoning ordinance regarding pawn shops and adult businesses, which are currently classified as prohibited uses. This topic originated from the review of the master plan regarding the assessment of our major corridors and a concern about the structure and current standards listed. Currently, our zoning ordinance lists prohibited uses in the Westgate District, BRD1, and BRD2 districts. Listing prohibited uses is inconsistent with the principle of permissive zoning, which is how our ordinance is structured. Noted in section 3.5 in Mr. Tangary's memo in the packet. Listing uses as prohibited in a district is not necessary if they are listed elsewhere, because they are not permitted by default. It also muddies the water. If it's prohibited in one district, but another district says nothing about prohibited uses there, is it potentially permitted? This amendment establishes pawn shops and adult businesses as special land uses in the I-1 Limited Industrial District and removes the prohibited uses from the ordinance. This amendment also includes the definitions and development standards for pawn shops and adult sexually oriented businesses. Mr. Tangary covered the rationale for the amendment in his memo in greater depth, and the ordinance language provides a definition and standards. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Let's go around the table for questions. Councilmember Tinlin.
Well, this one I'll have less comments on because I understand exactly what you guys are trying to do with this and tightening down the ordinances. So I don't have any comments. It's a very good job.
Councilmember Spisak.
None for me.
Councilmember Swinski.
No questions for me.
Councilmember Duberstein.
No questions.
Councilmember Peltonen.
No questions, but I do have a comment because I followed this. I know the Planning Commission covered this in great depth. I appreciated that they fixed some of the language that Commissioner Lalonde voiced. And I thought a lot of people might appreciate there's a section that specifically separates breastfeeding from nudity. So I just appreciated that, the clarification.
And just real quick, if I could note, this is a, I guess, quote unquote, defensive ordinance amendment. So it's not like there was an interest. This was just, if it ever came up, we want to make sure our ordinance was structured properly to oversee how this would be done. So just want to make that note.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
All set.
All right, I have a question. And it might just be that I don't understand, but in the part 4, it says, amending Chapter 34, Article 10, blah, 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 to add new item F and G as follows. Pawn shops north of 14 Mile only, adult businesses north of 14 Mile only. I don't understand that.
So our I-1 Limited Industrial District, which is where these will be permitted as special land uses, so there's a separate application for them. The I-1 district is both north and south of 14 Mile in Clawson, and so this would only permit them in properties north of 14 Mile in the I-1 district. So the properties farther south on 14 Mile they wouldn't be allowed to apply for a special land use there.
So we could put a pawn shop north of 14 in this district with a special permit?
Correct.
Okay.
But
So-
not in the I-1 district south of 14 Mile.
And why is it okay north but not south?
So part of the rationale of that district was there was a review of locational requirements to schools, churches, and other facilities, and I cannot recall exactly what triggered that to be the north of 14 Mile.
Because like the schools north of 14 Mile over. Yikes.
I don't have an exact note as to why that was selected, and I'm just trying to double check.
Does anyone who, Mr. Spishak? Councilmember Spishak?
I was just going to say, I want to say that's the South I District has the Jaffet School and the canopy right there.
So it's on
when the
Crooks.
north of 14 on that I section on Crooks, the school is only on Main Street, and there's nothing that crosses in that path of where it can be up to in the I.
So the I
corridor.
section is on the Crooks corridor there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I incorrect?
Rochester. So I don't know if
Rochester.
the answer to that question is substantive enough to not approve it, but if I could provide that answer to you next meeting at the second reading, I can do that.
Let's do that.
Since, again, I want to make sure I answer that correctly and don't want to.
Yep, no, that's always
thank
good.
you.
Perfect. All right, that was my question. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
No.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yeah.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Duberstein,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
We have approved the first reading. It will come back for a second reading, and we can have more discussion at that time and get some of those questions answered. So we've approved the first reading of the ordinance. Okay, moving on to 9B, which is consideration of appointing an officer delegate and an officer alternate to the Michigan Employees Retirement System MERS 80th Annual Meeting at the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel in Grand Rapids on October 8th and 9th of 2026.
Madam Mayor, I move that Vince Smith be designated as the officer delegate and Todd Jordan as the officer alternate for the city of Clawson for the Michigan Employees Retirement System MERS 80th Annual Meeting to be held at Grand Rapids, Michigan on October 8th through the 9th, 2026 be approved.
Support.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. The Michigan Employees Retirement System, MERS, is conducting their 80th annual meeting in which it is recommended that a representative from each member community attend. Each participating municipality shall send 2 members, an officer delegate and an employee delegate. The officer delegate is a department head level staff member, and the employee delegate is any other full-time employee. The governing body is tasked with appointing the officer delegate, and the employee is selected by the staff. The administration is requesting the appointment of Vince Smith as the officer delegate with Todd Jordan as the officer alternate. The employees have elected Chris Biluck as the employee delegate. The costs incurred by the employees, including the registration, hotel, and travel, are all covered by the city and accounted for in the budget.
Any questions? Looking this way, everyone's shaking their head, looking this way. And I guess the only question I have is we don't need to vote on because the employees get to vote on the other person, the employee delegate. We just need to approve the elected person. All right, seeing no questions, roll call, please.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Duberstein,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
All right, we have just approved sending Vince Smith off to attend the fascinating conference of the MERS 80th Annual Meeting at the Amway Grand Plaza in Grand Rapids on October 8th and 9th, 2026. Our next item is discussion of the ballot language for Renshaw Senior Apartments proposal for the November election.
Madam Mayor, I move to open discussion on the ballot language for the Renshaw Senior Apartments proposal.
Support.
All right, let's mix it up. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
I'm okay with the majority of it, other than some other people brought it up too. Approved for use on but not limited to. I don't know. Mr. Nushai, if you can explain that, but why do we have that, but not limited to in there?
So the language that we have has to be as clear as possible. Obviously, that's one of the criteria that we have for purposes of.
Can you speak up a little? I'm having a
my
hard time hearing you.
apologies.
Sorry.
You're okay. The language that we have has to be as clear as humanly possible, right? That's one of the criteria that we have pursuant to the Home Rule Cities Act. And that language simply, because it's coming back, any direction that the citizens of the city of Clawson have comes back to you, you ultimately control it. But not limited to, in my mind, when I drafted it, dealt with just the fact that with respect to what follows, which is the sustainment and improvement. I thought, for example, you could have creation of senior services as well, something that is not currently happening right now in the city of Clawson, but you may, the funding may be used for such purposes, right? But we get into a position where we keep adding on, if we keep adding on words, we move away from clarity of meaning. So that's why that language has to be, well, it's art at the end of the day, but that's the reasoning behind it.
Okay. Okay.
When it comes back to the body, to the seven of you, if the citizens of the city of Clawson determine that, yes, you do have the authority to sell, the limitations that you can place are not limited. You are not limited in the limitations that you can add, right? They're entirely up to the body. So it could be this, it could be more, it could be of whatever kind.
Okay. So are you saying we can't tie, like we can't guarantee that it goes to senior services based on this election? Because I think we want to tie it to,
Yeah,
if it does.
I don't, no, I don't think I'm saying that, and I don't think this is saying that either.
Okay. Okay. Come back to me.
Can I toggle off what I think you're trying to say?
ahead.
I think it's the inconsistency between this line and this line, right? So the one line says, but not limited to, but then it says if you have a yes vote, proceeds are directed towards senior
precisely
citizens.
what
They
I'm saying,
contradict
yeah.
each other. I think that's where
One's
you're
saying
going with it.
they're guaranteed to go here. The other one
Right.
says we'll decide after the vote.
Right.
Council will always have a decision if that's your concern, right? That one we can clarify. That's language that I can clarify on behalf of council.
I think that's one of the big questions
Yeah.
that's been out there is
That's
just
a
the
big one.
contradiction between the up top and then it says if you vote yes, and it's going to go right to senior services where it's.
When you're saying, are you, Madam Mayor, are you referencing the explanatory statement?
So, yeah, I'm referencing, so in the top part here, it's where it explains you have the top one and then you have the explanatory statement. The explanatory statement says, if you vote yes, then the proceeds are dedicated to senior services, where up here it says, but not limited to.
Correct.
Right.
But remember, the controlling language and the only language that matters for purposes of this is the language of the ballot, right? Understanding what you're telling me.
Right, it's leading the witness, if you will, with the yes, if you vote yes, then it's dedicating to senior services, where we're not promising that in the ballot language, right? We're saying, but not limited to.
Right, well, if that being if that's your concern, right, we can tighten that up, legally speaking. It's as simple as
I'm
that.
looking for you.
I think that's what you're looking for. Okay, sorry to butt in, but
No,
I just,
thank you.
okay.
That narrow point makes sense.
All right.
That's perfectly fine.
Cool, thanks.
Councilmember Peltonen.
Well, I think mine's kind of the same idea of making it simple, but I was thinking the opposite route, kind of more what Andrea came and said. I think the senior service part is vague because when I asked before, too, what it even means, it's up for us to decide. And then I was thinking, well, aren't we going to be the council to decide what is done with the proceeds if the sale goes through anyway? And so I think it would make more sense to just remove the part that dedicates or says what the proceeds are going toward, because I don't think we need to have an age limit on what we do with the proceeds. And I think I'm not at all saying we wouldn't do something that would benefit seniors. I think as a person that's looking at the legality of it and who has been looking at a lot of ordinance proposals and amendment things for school, I've been looking at a lot. The simpler, the better. It's easier for the residents to understand. So yeah, I agree more of the saying do we want to sell it or keep it? And we were elected to make those decisions, so I don't think we need to have it on all of this to hold us to something.
If I may, that topic will come back, obviously, one way or another, right? Whether it be just by way of the results that says, no, you do not have the authority to sell, moot point then, end of story. Or it'll come back and say, yes, you do have the authority to sell, and at that point, you will be able to offer more, not less, by way of protection. However, with respect to that limitation, the language that we see there, and while I would actually agree with you wholeheartedly that we need simpler language, not more complex language, remember, the language that we've drafted here is based on council's motion, and the council motion included the limitation, so we have to stay true to the limitation. And remember, this is we have to, for purposes of this consideration, when it comes back, it may well be that all 7 of you will be the ones to consider this issue, and this conversation will be nice and fresh in your mind. You'll have the benefit of all of it. But God forbid, the heavens may strike, and 7 new council members may be here. So we have to make that consideration. That's why the language has to be as precise and narrowly tailored as possible based on council's motion. And then the duty flows from council's motion to myself drafting, and then the ministerial duties of the city clerk taking it on. So I think when I look at it, because remember, like we have to look at it with the legal approach in mind. When I look at it, this is simplistic and direct, right? Regardless of complications that we may perceive as as individuals, ultimately is simple and direct. That one little complication that you pointed out just a moment ago is something that we can easily parse out, Mayor Pro Tem, and that's that.
Councilmember Duberstein.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with what Councilmember Peltonen said. I think the language needs to be as simple as possible, and I'm really thinking this is 2 separate questions, and please correct me if I'm wrong. One of the questions is, should we sell or not sell? And then the second question is more for the council. Do we then sell to for senior services?
Yeah, and remember, I do not have a voice in this, and if I were to have had a voice, if I may opine, even though I don't have a voice, I would agree with you wholeheartedly that ordinarily you would submit the question as up or down, right? Because that's basically the mandate of the charter. It says above a certain limit, as far as property value is concerned, you submit the question to the voters. And the question, it needs to be as simple as possible, and I think that stands to reason. But council wanted a limitation in its motion. To the extent that it exists right now, going back does not necessarily work. You go forward. And the limitation, do I think for a second the limitation is such that it will somehow confuse the voter for purposes of this? When I read it with my attorney eyes, I don't believe so. So I would, from a legal perspective, I'm comfortable with that language. Again, subject to whatever minor clarification that we deem appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Nushai, and you always have a voice with me.
Thank you.
Councilmember Tinlin.
Well, since you got the discussion point, I was talking about why we were having the senior service specifically called out. But I guess I'm in the other camp that, I want clarity, simplification, but I did support it only goes to senior service if passed. I think that needs to be clear to the voters, because if not, if we say yes or no, there's already information going out there that, residents are going to be thrown out. We're going to go spend the money on infrastructure. And I want to be very clear on the ballot that this is only going to be used for senior services, and that's it. And then the other question is, just because I've got a few comments, not adding more words to that, but just somehow acknowledging that the Renshaw apartment currently has 14 senior residents over 62 that are serving now. So there's been a few suggestions of at least putting that into the context of the ballot. So those are my 2 points.
And I heard that, and actually, it's actually a reasonable request and a rational, logical request. However, for purposes of our statutory mandate, right, pursuant to the Home Rule City Act, we are unable to do so because it can be, unfortunately, we get to the area of argument, right? We're advocating one way or another, and this body and this administration cannot. We can inform later on, right, afterwards, and the city, as you recall, the city has on previous ballot issues has informed the public of the various aspect of whatever topic that we're submitting a question to the citizens of the city, voters of the city of Clawson, and we can inform of that particular information, but we cannot do so by way of ballot language.
So we can't clarify that the 15 residential building currently occupied or anything like that. We can't say that it's currently occupied.
No, ma'am. We're adding complexity to that ballot question that will be impermissible.
Okay.
But, for purposes of, the city's administration, because, once, this proceeds forward, the city can provide that information and more to inform of the actual condition of the property, whatever they may be, right? All factual questions without advocating one way or another.
Are you all set?
Yes, for now on this one. Thank you.
Councilmember Spishak.
So if we need, I guess my question is, if there needs to be a change to make it more simple, is that
Just a legal change.
Just a legal change? It's not a remotion?
So, no, it's not a motion. It's not a new motion. The only thing that we're going to do, because again, this is legal, the legal language belongs to, it's the moment that council voted on it, then it comes to the city attorney and then the city clerk as far as the duties respectively. So the city clerk has those ministerial duties to put it on the ballot. And therefore, the city attorney's role is simply to assist the city clerk. So for purposes of that, the creation of, the language, having heard what sounds to be some general agreement with respect to the, but not limited to, right? Would remove that portion of it and leave the sustainment and improvement of senior services in the city of Clawson.
That's all I have.
Councilmember Selinsky.
So it's my understanding that all 7 of us are up here and we're not in agreement on really what it means. Is that correct? Because we have a couple of us who are saying, but not limited to, is okay because it's dedicated to senior services. But then we're looking at it and a few of us disagree that it actually means the opposite.
I think that if we clean that up, then at least speaking for myself, well, I have other comments, but I think that if it's cleaned up so that those two statements don't contradict themselves, which Mr. Nushai said he would do, that eliminates that particular concern in my mind.
I would agree, because if we're not clear that it means the same thing, I don't think everybody else will be clear that it means the same thing.
Agreed.
Yes, ma'am. And that's I think that's the sense that I receive, that I get from all of you, that being the case, by removing that portion of the question, but not limited to, it would clarify, it would leave the sustainment and improvement of senior services in the city of Clawson.
Now, is it a requirement to have the explanatory statement on the ballot?
No.
It's not. Okay, I have no more questions for now, but I will say I would recommend us doing a new motion.
Okay, so everyone said for now, so I'm going to do another round after I talk, so to give everyone else another chance to speak, just so we beat this to death. But, so when you rewrite it, Mr. Nushai, and you remove the but not limited to, are we legally obligated then to only use the proceeds for some manner of senior services?
Right.
All right. So, and I think that's important because we have to remember that, I mean, there's a lot of people up here with terms that expire in November of '27. There's only a couple of us who go beyond that. We don't know who's going to be sitting up here if and when a sale were to come to be. So we can't, I like, we all know I'm opposed to this in general, but if it has to be, I like it being as succinct as possible, handcuffing us as much as possible to only using the proceeds in that fashion. So interesting, you said the explanatory statement is not required, but it's permissible. Is that?
Right.
So what's the rationale for including that?
the rationale for an explanatory statement, ma'am?
Well, I mean, so I think there's some concern by some people who are opposed to this that the explanatory statement is somewhat of an attempt to passively aggressively campaign for advocating for the sale. And so I think that some of the concerns about why that's included in the way that it's written, and that's why some of the people who came up and said, well, we should say, be sure that there's residents there. It seems to be somewhat of, like I said, I'll say it again, passive-aggressive campaigning to advocate for the sale.
Understood. And understood, ma'am, but I beg to differ. That is, every statement contained in there, or therein, is a factual statement of law. Now, it may well operate by virtue, by just by definition, whether I want to or anybody wants to or not, it may well operate as argument one way or another. I'm cognizant of that. That I'll grant you all day, every day. But that doesn't mean that the language in there is geared towards it. When we're talking about, let's take the second paragraph, if I may. The proposal asks voters whether the city council may sell or otherwise dispose the Renshaw property. Factual statement. If approved, the proceeds of any sale would be directed towards the sustainment and improvement of senior services of the city of Clawson. Factual statement, given what you've got. Approval would authorize but not by itself complete a sale. Factual statement. The city council would still determine the terms, process, and timeline of any disposition, including arrangements affecting current residents. Factual statement.
Isn't it also a factual statement that a sale may or may not displace the current residents?
May or may not displace the current,
That's
but see, that's a step removed, though. Think about the actual steps, the logical step involved. Because it is a step removed from the actual, what's actually happened.
If the
That's
sale
where you
may,
get to.
a sale may or may not displace the current residents.
It's argument, ma'am, believe me. I deal in argument all day, and that's not to say that I'm uniquely qualified. Anybody can recognize an argument. But for legal purposes of 117.21 of the MCL, that would be argumentative. And we would be back in a limbo because it would be something that could realistically be challenged. So the language needs to be as simplistic as possible when it comes to this. And remember, that's an explanatory statement, right? The ultimate question is just a question.
So how is that different from the approval would authorize but not in itself complete a sale?
But do you understand that that's a factual statement, is I guess my question, in the sense that by virtue of our charter, that is a factual statement. That's what the charter says. It brings the responsibility back to the council. So it cannot, I cannot say that simply if the voters say, yes, you may sell, that does not in and of itself complete the sale. Because you have the authority to go, it comes back to you. You say, I have the authority as a body to do so. You may choose, you may have a vote at that time that says, no thanks, I think we're going to keep it. Right? That's still your responsibility. I mean, pardon me, your ability to vote. That's still your authority. That's what makes that statement a factual statement.
Okay. All right, let's do another quick round because everyone else said, that's all I have for now. Let's give everyone a second chance. Councilmember Duberstein.
That's all I have for now.
No, you say I'm done.
I like how you put it, Mayor. I'll cite you.
Councilmember Peltonen.
Well, I would like to see, I was interested in removing the explanatory statement altogether, wondering how people felt about that, because, is that too simple? I was just curious. If we don't need it, because it still says the senior services part on top, so if he takes out so that part will still be included, so we're still bound. So it's not taking away anything from senior services, but it's eliminating a lot of extra language.
I don't remember when we've done other ballot measures, because we've done a couple other ones, did they include, and I don't remember.
We didn't have this debate because you cannot necessarily have this debate because it's not necessarily your purview and prerogative. Now, we're engaging in this because we're all gracious and adults and we want to do this. But the moment that you put the vote on the motion, right, the obligation has left you and has gone to the administration side.
That's not my question. My question is,
And yet that's the answer.
the question, no. You're answering a question I'm not asking. My question was, on our other measures, do we always put an explanatory
Oh,
statement?
yes, I'm sorry, my apologies. You're right. Yeah, pardon me. I didn't mean to be feisty or facetious.
You're all riled up there, Dennis. Just calm down.
You're good. You're good. Mea culpa. When wrong, one is wrong. You're exactly right. We've always had it, and because it does make sense. It's not to say
Okay.
that you're supposed, that you have to, but again, to provide context is necessary. It needs to be factual context. It needs to be simple and straightforward to the best, to the best of our abilities. But it makes sense, right? To have, even though the question, the ballot question in and of itself is simple and direct, to have it without that explanatory statement, that first paragraph, for example, the Renshaw Senior Apartments, because otherwise it becomes an address, right? So I think that's where the depth of understanding comes in. But we have to be just so careful for purposes of how we phrase ourselves.
And it's been our practice in the past to always
Yes,
do that.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So, anything else, Councilmember Peltonen? You can keep talking until you're done. So. Okay. Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
No, I'll leave it at I like the explanatory statement in there, and I'm good with it as long as the city attorney cleans up what we asked him to. So that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Tinlin.
Yeah, the same comments as we get that revised by the city attorney. And I'm the same way, we're giving the voters an opportunity to make the choice. So that's why we are trying to be neutral, give them the factual information and let them decide. And then as council, we'll execute that decision, one way or the other. So I have nothing else.
Councilmember Spishak.
Nothing further as long as we can get that cleaned up.
Councilmember Swinski.
I agree. I like the remove the but not limited to and keep the explanatory statement.
All right. So this was just a discussion, no action required. I guess so it'll be cleaned up.
Yes, ma'am.
And then it'll be submitted and we'll see it on the ballot in November. End of story.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll forward, obviously, to the body for
Right.
purposes of, so that you receive it, by way of email, but beyond
All
that.
right. Okay. All right. All right, moving on. Our next item on the agenda is 9D, discussion on the public notifications regarding the repairs of private sewer taps.
Madam Mayor, I move to open discussion on the notifications regarding the repairs of private sewer taps.
Second.
All right. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. During the last meeting, a motion was approved to have a discussion on the public notices regarding the approximately 100 properties that would receive a letter regarding the need for repair of their private sewer. Included in the packet is the draft notice as reviewed by the city attorney. The city administration is advising property owners that they will have 90 days to respond to the city with their plan of action to address their needed repairs, and then 12 months to complete the repairs once they receive the notice. An approximate timeline would have the notices being sent out by mid-August, a response given to the city by mid-November, and repairs completed by August 2027. Just want to reiterate that as an example timeline for purposes of discussion. This topic arose after the infrastructure presentation given by Ryan McDonald, the Assistant Superintendent of the DPW, and providing the results of the CCTV project. The condition of each private tap varies, and because of that, the estimates are difficult to measure independently tap to tap. Additionally, all of the taps identified are not residential, and some are public or commercial properties, and the public will be our responsibility as the cities. So that would be connections in parks and other public spaces. In the public notice, the charter language mentioned states the following. Section 11.03, private drains, construction, repair, property owners, duties, city authority. Whenever the city council shall deem it necessary for the public health, it may require the owners and occupants of lots and premises to construct private drains, therefrom to connect with some public sewer or drain, and thereby to drain such lots and premises, and to keep such private drains in repair and free from obstructions and nuisances. And if such private drains are not constructed and maintained according to such requirement, the city council may cause the work to be done at the expense of such owner or occupant, and the amount of such expense shall be a lien upon the premises drained and may be collected by special assessment to be levied thereon. So before, I just want to address a couple things from public comment. The first and foremost is there were some comments about water services and sewer, and I just want to set the table to identify that those are two separate notices that have gone out, two separate projects. And so the conversation tonight is strictly about the private sewers connecting to the public main. And I'm sure we'll have questions and answers, and I'll be able to answer some questions. But I just want to set the table with that right now. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Tinlin.
Okay, so just so everyone understands how I'm thinking, I'm just framing my discussion. So the issue before council is not whether the sewer tap should not be repaired. They should be. I think really it's around a lot of the policy questions that have been shared with us by email, by discussion. So those questions, at least I'd like to have answers, really the legal responsibility, right? There's been a lot of things behind the scenes as far as how we defined how the homeowner has the legal responsibility to fix the sewer taps. And really, we haven't discussed too much about the inspection appeal process and how transparent and fair that is. I've heard that a lot, saying if I get this letter, what is the process? And I've had recommendations of having more than just call DPW, but have the ability to have appointments with those officers and be able to see those videos and understand this. And also for me, this is more for the TPW. You know, we talk a lot about the 102, and I like to have the problem scope, right? Of those 102 residents, are they commercial? Are they primary just residents? Is some of this 102 going to be impacted by infrastructure projects where we're going to pick up the tab? So do we have a clarity on those 102 letters that went out? Are they all residents, or are they commercial as well?
So I just want to state that the letters have not gone out. Okay. So after the motion was made at the last meeting, we made the decision to hold off on sending the notices. I do think that might have been a poor decision just because of the speculation that came up after this. The Department of Public Works received an influx of inquiries, and I think that's fair. People want to know, but at the same time, some of the feedback that the DPW was getting was that people were losing sleep over it and things like that, and that's obviously fair. But I think it caused some unnecessary panic when we will be communicating this to the owners that do have the issue, and we're not just going to give them this notice and have them to figure out themselves. We are going to be working with every single one of these people as it comes up to communicating with them. That's why we're having the requirement for them to touch base with us so we can help them develop a plan to address their issue. And one final thing is that all approximately 85 that are private homeowners, the majority of those are not a full open cut replacement or sewer lining. The majority of them are actually probably sewer jetting or cutting or something like that, which is less intrusive, which therefore is less expensive for homeowners.
So I take offense at your criticism of us delaying the letters. I think it was very important to delay the letters so that we could have some conversations. Again, council sets policy, administration administers the policy, and if we had been asked questions about how to what the policy the council wanted around this, then it might have allayed some of the consternation. But I think it was our responsibility to delay the letters going out and making sure that we address everything for the residents, because that's our job. So I just wanted to.
I do just think it caused some unneeded panic, and procedurally maybe could have gone differently on both ends. But I just wanted to acknowledge that we had an influx of people and we've been answering questions.
And perhaps maybe if the city had posted the list of who was affected after the presentation, that would have allayed some concerns as well. That would be a transparent way to do it and would have taken a lot of concerns off a lot of people's mind. But again, if they had come to us and asked us about the policy that the council wanted employed, that would have been a way to do it as well. Councilmember Tinlin.
I've got a few more. So for me, also, it's just, I think I've heard a lot is, the 90 days, did that come, I always say that comes from number heaven. So that I was picked from something. So I'm more of a risk thing. So obviously, there's maybe some residents that have higher damage risk to our sewer system that has to be addressed faster than ones that have minor issues. And I'm not sure how that's in the process of how we explain that to them. And also just, I know there's a lot of stuff out there, and I like to hear that, of the 85 impacted private residents, that not all of them are going to be digging up the street, which I think the numbers were $18,000 to $20,000 for that. And also homeowners insurance. I personally check my homeowners insurance, which is Progressive. I'll give them a commercial. Mine's covered for $10,000 with deductible. So also, we always talk about worst case scenario that we're going to have to pay all this money as a private residence, but I'm sure most homeowners do have insurance policies. And I've researched that, and I've returned a few emails as well. A simple $5 a month rider will protect you from this. So, but that's, if you know about it, then unfortunately the insurance companies won't cover you. It's like driving your car into a tree, right? And then you get car insurance the next day. It doesn't work that way. Point of order.
Can we have some decorum, please?
And the only other thing, too, is just maybe the permit on top of the residents having to bear some of this cost and then adding a $100 fee. That was a lot of conversation. Should we show some mercy with that? And for me, it's just another process that we have to work with the city administration on. As the city really explored every lawful opportunity to reduce the burden to the citizens, right? We still are accountable to making sure we maintain our public sewer as an elected body, but just, there wasn't a lot of transparency in how we went through that process. So I think if we could be more transparent about have we explored all the things, the legal aspects of where the legal end goes, I think that'll help as well. I think that's all I have for now.
Councilmember Spishak.
Councilmember Tinlin touched on, I think, almost everything I was going to bring up. I would like to see the permit fee waived on there because I do think that, when you have a necessary repair that needs to be made, it's something that's sort of needed, and maybe it's something that we can waive. I will say that just from my experience with an issue with my sewer when I first moved in, they do have good riders that can cover that thing. So being able to go out and talk to your homeowner's insurance and figuring those things out do tend to help and calm those situations down. But I do think the more information that we got out sooner would have been beneficial instead of letting social media take over. So that's sort of where I stand on that.
Councilmember Swinsky.
Well, I like the fact that we did delay that, not because it caused any emotional downfall for anybody, that was not the intention. But I like the way that we talked as a council, and this letter now is not saying you have to have it fixed in 9 days. It's saying that you should have some type of a plan. So let's talk about what that means, and what is it you're looking at? How much do you think it will cost? And what I would like to see is, and maybe this is what they're going to do, but if those letters go out, I would like to see them go out in batches so that you have maybe some time to go through the first batch and help those people and then go through the next batch. It was an idea that somebody had talked to me about, and I really like that. So maybe that's something that we could do. But I like the fact that we decided not to go ahead with having it fixed with 90 days. And I understand when DPW did this presentation, they may have been just kind of like trying to give us an idea on what the worst case scenario could be. And maybe there was some lessons learned there, which is okay. But moving forward, I like the new letter. I like how it's written. I think that the permit fee, waiving that for the residents would be part of how we can help them. And that's all I have for now.
All right, you said for now, let the record show. All right, Councilmember Duberstein.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple different things. And perhaps this has been said, but I didn't catch it if it was. Are all the homes affected in a single neighborhood, or are they kind of spread throughout?
I'm going to look to the superintendent of the DPW. I believe they're primarily spread out. It's not like they're fully It's not like the northwest area of Clawson doesn't have all of them. They're spread out. Trevor can confirm or.
Thanks.
Thank you. Want to get your legs moving.
Thank you.
They're spread out.
Just want to have that confirmation.
I'm going to stay here in case you have questions.
Other things, I'd like us to see if we can look into maybe some grants or some other funding to help the impacted homeowners and the impacted property owners. I'm also curious. I also like the idea of waiving the $100 fee, especially since we asked the homeowners to take this on. I do worry that 12 months is not enough time to have somebody pay this sum of money back to the city. So I'd like to see what we can do. And if there are payment plans, I did have a voter reach out to me today and ask if we did offer something like that, that it be interest-free. So I'm just throwing all that out there for consideration. And that's where I'm at. So thank you.
For now, or are you done?
For now, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
Just to, and I have answers to some questions I imagine coming up. I just didn't want to start this with a monologue. So regarding the permit fee, if you are cleaning, jetting, cutting roots out of your sewer, that would not require the permit fee. So the permit fee is required for work in the public right-of-way, so from the sidewalk to the road. And so if someone was doing an open cut replacement, that's where the permit fee would come in, and that is where the DPW come and inspect that site. And so why that permit fee is there is the city council, as you know, sets the fee schedule. We follow the fee schedule. And so procedurally, that's the process that folks apply for and you do when, as a resident earlier said, they had their own done. That's what is done. So again, that is a historical process that we're using. I'm not saying we need to continue to do that if that's the prerogative of council, but that is why that is stated in there.
Can I speak on that?
Sure.
Since I'm the one in charge of those permits. I would absolutely waive the fee, the $100 you guys are stuck on. The bond cannot be waived. We need that to protect the roadway that they are removing.
And that makes sense to waive the fee, but procedurally have them still inspect and that kind of stuff. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're all sort of sitting right now. So that's,
It's not like it hasn't been done before. I'd 100%
Right.
back.
Cool,
waiving
cool.
that fee.
Let the record show. All right. Councilmember Peltonen. Stay there.
So if you don't get a letter, does that mean your tap is good? Is it great? Might it be messed up soon? Like, how comfortable should we be if we don't get a letter?
So it means it didn't meet the threshold, which is about 55% of a blockage.
Okay.
However, I think it's good practice for everyone. I think it's good practice for everyone to get their sewers inspected on an annual basis. It just makes good sense. It's not that expensive to just get, I'm not saying get it cleaned, just get a camera through there. Get a look at it, know what you're dealing with.
Okay, and we don't know a grand total for all the work that would be done, because we don't know everybody's, like, that people, I mean, it's just been kind of asked, it would have to be individual.
All we are able to see is the tap and
Yes.
a few feet up the line. So from there, you get a camera in there, you might have more problems than we can see. That's where the unknown is.
And on that note, if you are notified that you have a potential issue, the footage that we have from Rogue, who did the CCTV, will absolutely be provided to you on your end. But again, in order to make a full assessment, there's a strong likelihood you're going to need to camera your own sewer out regardless to know what the rest of the condition is.
Even if you don't get a letter, if you request information on your tap, we will gladly give it to you.
Right, I was
I
just
will
thinking
note
for
if
help.
we have 500 requests tomorrow, it may take some time to
Right,
get those out.
I was just thinking
so
if
I
people
just
should
wanna put that
should
out
feel
there.
comfortable for now at least, like if they say,
Yes,
like.
if you didn't receive a
shouldn't be
letter,
Worried about it,
there's
yeah,
no,
you should be.
You should be fine.
That's it for now.
All right, the operative word of the day is now. Remember Pee Wee Herman, the word of the day? Anyhow, all right, Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
People have already said it, but yeah, I would definitely want DPW to meet with each resident, and, you know, kind of show proof, evidence, show the picture of like, hey, you see this, it's disconnected, not just like, hey, trust me, bro. So I would, and like Councilmember Selinsky was saying, batches, because it could be a lot of meetings you got to do there. however you do it, just make sure you're meeting with everybody on that. And also, some other people are saying, like, can we create like a kind of a help sheet for these folks where it's like, this is where you can get a low interest construction loan or interest free construction loan. These are good contractors that we work with. Just like providing them, not holding the hand, but like being there with them every step of the way.
Absolutely, and Mr. Zablocki and I spoke today, and we talked about once the notices go out and folks are making communication, is instead of having one-on-one meetings, just maybe have smaller town halls with people that are in the same condition. That way we can have specific conversations with people that are in the same boat. When it comes to the financial component or burden, however you want to word it, to the resident, we've also been talking with DPW legal about how we can offer some type of program to support that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that's going to look like right now, but it's something we're working on and trying to figure out how we could potentially do something to assist.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. What else do I have here? Oh, and then it was like perfect timing. I was watching the news and I saw that City of Detroit was paying to repair for some private sewer taps. Does anybody know how they're paying for that or saw that?
First time hearing of it.
I'm not
Look
sure
into it.
I'm not sure what the City of Detroit's doing, but we'll take
Just
a look.
they're repairing private taps, and I was like, no way, crazy timing. I was just curious how they're doing that. So if admin could look into that and see how they're doing that, that'd be great. Other than that, that was all I had for now.
So one of my biggest concerns is having an appeals process. And let me tell you a story. A couple years ago, I had sewer backing up into my house. And I may or may not have used a company that may or may not have been mentioned today. And they said, oh, everything's broken. You got to have everything all dug up. And it was a whole thing. And they weren't going to be able to clean it out for days and that kind of stuff. And then I got another company out. And they also cameraed it, cleaned it all out, and said, I don't know what they were talking about. Everything's fine. And I have not had a problem since then. And so my concern is, like, experiences like that, what kind of appeals process do we have? So you have, and I'm not questioning the evidence you have, I'm just questioning plumbers. Like I said, from my personal experience, it's, again, you have to tear everything out and redo everything. And that was not the case when I had another plumber come out, camera it the same way, and show me. And again, it was years ago, and there hasn't been any problem since then. So how do we deal with someone gets a letter, they have a company come out, they do all they're a licensed plumber, reputable company, and says, there's nothing wrong here. And I think we need a process to address those sort of circumstances. They may or may not happen, but go ahead.
So I think the 90-day plan of action is it includes that, and why it's not included in the letter is because all 85 of these people are going to have different conditions, variables, and so to identify each one in the letter is just not necessarily feasible. And so let's say, for instance, and I think this is what you're getting at, is if someone, we have a list as they need to have a full open cut sewer replacement, they have their own plumber come out, camera it, and their plumber says, we can fix it through this measure instead of doing the open cut. They do that work, provide the camera footage before and after to the city, and we find that acceptable. I don't see why we would not be able to accept that.
So, but we need a criteria for how is it acceptable? Because if I have my plumber saying, this is fine, but your reputable people say, no, it's not, we can't continue to press the resident to pay more, do more than what they've done when they have their documentation saying I'm done and done, right? So I think we need to, before we go into this, we need to set the parameters for those sort of circumstances and how that's going to be addressed. What's the final mediation for something like that? You look like you're going to say something.
If I may. Thank you. If I may, unfortunately, we will have to be bound in the same way as we're currently bound, where the city, by way of review of whatever permit has been issued to fix a job, has the ultimate right of approval or denial of the work having been done correctly. We cannot create a new process, unfortunately. It has to remain with the same process because we're still considering this in spite of the fact that monetarily may be something very different. Ultimately speaking, they will have the end review.
And so when there's a dispute on that, it becomes a lawsuit?
It becomes a lawsuit.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So, and then, of course, I also think we should waive the $100 fee. Everyone's for so that, you said you agree to that. I think that we need to sort of crawl, walk, run into this process. It seems like we have a lot of things that we need to sort of decide before we send letters out, but to mitigate some of the concerns, I think that maybe as not a, hey, you have to take action, but maybe we just send a letter to the people, the 85 residents, and say, you're on the list, but we're going to get back to you with our policy so that people know and they can take action, talk to their, their homeowners or whatever, and then we continue to flesh out what exactly this is all going to look like before we start sending letters and saying you have to take action going forward. I think that might be the way forward.
I would just say if if somebody received a letter that says you have an issue, homeowners insurance is not going to add a rider on there for you to cover that issue. That would be a conversation that you would have before that, which I know is hard to do because you don't know if you are somebody that might be affected. But it's just a good practice to look.
I was looking more at laying some people's concerns out whether or not they're going to be in the, because people, and that's the thing we heard time and time again. I don't know if I'm in it or not, but letting people know who's in it, but also taking the time to make sure all our policies and ducks are in a row before we start affecting these people's lives, I think.
I would rather send, I am in agreeance with you, wait, get everything flushed out, and then send the letter. I don't think sending it sounds like a warning letter might not be a good route.
So to allay people's concerns, continue to call and ask? Yep. Okay.
Unfortunately.
That's cool. All right, that's fine. As long as you're like,
makes it hard on my staff, however, we're happy to help everyone out as much
I
as we
appreciate
can.
that. Then we'll just leave that at that. As long as people have an avenue to find out if they're in the bucket or not.
I just would rather not send an official warning letter.
That's fair.
As you're saying.
I appreciate that. Yeah. No, that sounds good to me. I like that. So one more round of comments, and then we need to decide a way forward. So go ahead. You want to say something, I can tell.
So, again, so we don't have a council meeting on August 4th because of the primary elections. So the next time we meet is August 18th. If the decision is not to send out notices until after that, then I think that'll also give us enough time to provide some other information, alternatives, options to you at that time. So after the 18th, we are comfortable with sending the letters out and having a better idea of what we can do to help support the residents. So that'll give us about a month. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
So on the 18th, if you have like a policy document relative to this project and addressing everything that we're going to waive like a policy proposal for the council, we're going to waive the $100, but they still have to do the bond and they have to agree to whatever they have to agree to. And I think there's a general consensus here that 90 days is too short, but maybe fleshing out, a period of time for project planning and then, some alternatives for the timeline, years, whatever information you're going to get about the financing, like have that all in your project proposal document on the 18th, and then we could finalize it from there. Is that what you're proposing?
Essentially, and yes, for council, but I think it's more or less for the residents that will get that letter too, more importantly. But
Well, at the end of the day, it's, council decides on that policy, so it would be us buying into the policy.
Right, but it's all information for them. We're saying the same thing, yes.
Yeah. All right, I like it. I like it.
So can I
Go
just,
ahead.
I just
You
want to make
can?
sure I understand. So it would then be about a month until letters actually go out, but people could call the DPW to find out if they're on. But we won't know the extent that they're on it, but they can at least ease some.
So we have been taking calls for the last 2 days, lots of them. We've had one that called that is going to be on the list. My staff was very scared about that. They didn't know what to say. We provided them with all the information. We told everyone else, if you want the information as well, we will give it to you. But most people are like, I'm not on the list, I'm good. So we're fine with doing that.
So since we're formulating our plan, what we're doing, and folks are still going to want to contact the DPW, and I'm kind of asking for Mr. Zablocki's approval of this, instead of asking people to call the DPW, I think it'll be simpler to have them just send an email to water@cityofclawson.com, since again, I think there's going to continue to be an influx.
But then it's in writing, and it might blind the face of their homeowners. If it's
Well, I
verbal,
think we're
it's not
riding that line right now, and I think the attorney would
No.
probably agree with me on that.
Nick, on
La,
that,
la, la,
on
la,
that
la.
same thing, because we're dealing with the emails with the water service stuff, there are a lot of residents that come in and they literally don't have an email. So I
Just trying
will
to simplify the work
I would prefer an
intake.
email, but we will take phone calls.
Okay.
I have a suggestion. Why not take these 85 people and reach out to them like with a phone call?
I mean, you don't necessarily have the
'Cause
phone
we don't
numbers for
have
all
phone
these people.
numbers.
You have addresses, but you don't necessarily have the phone numbers for these
That's
people.
why we do everything by mail.
Yeah.
Or send our guys out door to door.
Okay.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
do you want to talk about the?
Yeah, so
Pepe.
I guess I take one hat off and put another hat on. Something that we're putting together for later in the month of August is a resource fair for the community. So if you are somebody that is interested in coming out and learning about local tradespeople, insurance policies, bank details, things like that, we'll be hosting it at City Hall in the community room on the 27th of August, and more information will come out on that. Just, we're still early in the planning, but that should come out. But it's a benefit to everybody to be able to connect with local people who work in all of those industries that might be able to assist.
All right. This is a good conversation. I'm going to look at everyone down the line. You good? You good? Go ahead,
No,
Councilmember Smith.
this is actually, I just wanted to say, thank you for taking this on. I've been in this city for a very long time, and I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen the city take part in the CCTV footage and plan ahead. Plan ahead. And I say that it's not going to be good for these 85 people up front, but if you think about when do you really know something like this is going to happen until after it happens? And this is not really good information for a lot of people, but we're knowing this ahead of time, and we're working hard for the residents to understand it. And I think you guys are taking the information, we're tweaking things that we're talking about, and I appreciate that. So I just wanted to say that.
Looking this way. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to emphasize, I agree with making a much longer timeline for people to get this done or completed, because the 90 days is to respond, and then an example timeline of a year, but I think we should consider something like 3 to 5 years if necessary, because
Depending on the
things are
severity, right, yeah.
depending on everything, but we should make sure everybody knows that it's not set in stone because times are hard for a lot of us, so extending it.
Okay. I'm good. I love the idea of coming back with a policy document on the 18th. I appreciate, Trevor, your friendliness and cooperation in this. You've been lovely. Thank you. Yeah, so having said all that, I think we're done with this agenda item. Thank you, everyone, for the substantive conversation. I think it was very good. Moving on. Our next item on the agenda is public comment for items not on the agenda. So if you would like to speak to items not on the agenda, I ask you to come to the podium. You'll be given 4 minutes. And this time I'm going to clarify that everyone's going to just be given one turn. You will not be allowed to have a second tap at the well. So one opportunity to come and speak to items not on the agenda, 4 minutes. Please state whether or not you're a resident of this city. And again, it's not a back and forth, but anything you make a comment on, we'll make an earnest effort during subsequent comments to address whatever it is that you have questions about. So if you would like to speak to items not on the agenda, please come forward and have at it.
Jamie Gills, Tuckanochee, Clausen resident. So first I want to say thank you to you all. I think this is some of the most substantive conversation we've had, and I appreciate that. I did want to come up, and I'm weaving this into something not on the agenda, don't worry. But I want to take a moment to point out a pattern that I have found concerning how the city administration approaches difficult decisions. In both the discussions around Renshaw Apartments and the sewer tap issue, what concerns me is that council is presented to what feels like to me this is how we're going to do it. And maybe other alternatives have been looked at, but we have asked and our questions have never been answered about both the sewer tap and the Renshaw Apartments. For the sewer taps, did we contact local agencies, state agencies, or HUD, which is paying for the Detroit fixes, and you can find it on their website? Did we find out if there's any money available to help our citizens? Or did we just go to, well, we're just, we're not gonna look into those options. So I'd like to know what options for both Renshaw before it went on the ballot and for the water tap, what have we looked at that could help the citizens? And it seems very important that we not spend a dime of our money helping citizens unless the city manager wants it. So I think it's important for you to ask what alternatives were explored, what has been. Maybe we explored all these alternatives and they were all rejected for valid reasons. We don't know that because you don't tell us that. And I know, talking to many of you, that you ask these questions and you don't always get answers. And that's problematic too, right? Because you are doing the hard work trying to work for us and you are not getting the answers you need or the information you need to do that. Right, and this is, I guess, where the next step comes in, where we step up and say, you know what, the mayor has been saying this all night and last week. You guys set policy. I would love to see you do more of that. I think you're smart, good people, whether I voted for you or not. I think that you have the capability to really make us the little city with the big heart and look into these alternatives. And maybe for something the city doesn't have the money, but are there grants? Are there other services that can help us? Could we do block bidding? Could the city go out and say, we have these 85 residents, these are the problems, can we get some sort of discounted rate for this block bidding? Usually the answer is yes. And then the city could administer that somehow. Is it going to be a problem for the city? Absolutely, that's a hassle. Is it a problem for the residents that might be on Social Security? Absolutely. Could we not see if it's doable? That's what I'm asking. And as you get the answers to the questions, whether you think the public's going to like them or not, share them with us. Because then we can see the transparency. Then we can see that the city administration is not just making a decision, but they're looking at alternatives. And we want to see that because we love our neighbors and we love the people in the city. And I think we can do it together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Katie Terrell, Clausen resident. This is for the city attorney. When we were talking about the Renshaw voting, or the language on the ballots, you talked a lot about facts, the contract facts. So the city of Clausen has 14 contracts with the senior residents that expire May 18th, 2027. I feel like that's something that should go on the ballot. There is a contract with the residents, the senior residents, for those apartments. That's something, the people who are not on Facebook, the people who don't come to city meetings, the people who don't know about it. Just yesterday at the Parks and Rec, there was a woman who came up, she talked a lot about pickleball, and she only found out about that entire event because I believe it was the Royal Oak Review that came that day. These residents need to know that the seniors live there. Whether or not they're being displaced, they need to know that they are currently living there. And then if we can't say that they may or may not be displaced, we need to have the open discussion as a city about what that looks like ahead of time. They need to know that they're taken care of. And that they're not just going to be pushed off to another facility that may or may not be up to their standards or their want of living. The administration needs to not push the ideals that those residents belong somewhere else too, because they belong in their homes. And it's up to the residents to vote, and I understand that. And I understand that that's what you guys decided on. I'm not saying that the residents shouldn't have a vote, but that they should all be informed, all the way through, with no questions asked. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Diane, and I am a resident. Okay, about a year ago or so, I asked about paving the walkway in the park. I haven't heard anything about it, so I was just wondering what's happening with that. And the second thing is, I had asked if the parking on Bowers could be moved to the other side. I want to withdraw that. I have realized since then that in the morning, the trucks come in. I don't want the trucks on my side. They're too long. They would block all of our driveways. So with those two things, that's all I want to say. Thank you. And I love your inspiration.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else who would like to speak to items not on the agenda? All right. Seeing no one else getting up, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment, and we'll move to the city clerk's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items. We have the primary election August 4th. The last day to register by mail or online was yesterday, July 20th. From now on, you have to come to city clerk's office. Early in-person voting will be this Saturday, July 25th through Sunday, August 2nd at the Troy Community Center, rooms 304 and 305. from 8:30 to 4:30, except for Thursday the 30th, when the hours are 12 to 8. And we are open on Saturday, August 1st, for anyone that wants to register or turn their ballots in.
All right, thank you. I saw that it was posted on Facebook today that we have an opening for the Traffic and Safety Board. I think that's all we have open right now, right?
I didn't see that yet. It was Parks and Rec is going to have an opening. We received a resignation.
What was it, Parks? I thought, maybe I'm making up memories again. Oh, did the police department?
That's what I saw.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll verify that for you.
All right, cool, appreciate it. All right, excellent. He looks ready, I'm gonna make him
Nothing
wait.
this
City Attorney's report.
Nothing this evening, thank you, Madam Mayor, unless barring any questions, of course.
All right, any questions? No questions. All right. City Manager's report.
I do at this time. Starting yesterday, Monday, July 20th, the Department of Public Works started conducting hydrant flow testing throughout all of Clawson. The purpose of flowing hydrants is to ensure hydrants perform properly, clean the system, improving the water quality, and help assess our infrastructure, helping identify potential maintenance repair opportunities. Temporary disruptions in the distribution system are expected and will likely result in discolored water for properties near the affected areas. Clawson is broken into 5 sections for the project. Sections 1 and 2 were completed yesterday and today, which includes the northwest portion of Clawson. The DPW will be flushing Section 3 tomorrow, which consists of South Main Street to Crooks Road, and then West 14 Mile to Normandy. Flushing will occur between 9 a.m. and 3:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday for tomorrow and future flushings. It was initially estimated that this project would take about 3 to 4 weeks, but based on results thus far, we expect to be done sooner. We will continue to update our social media pages and website with information, and also continue sending out notifications via TextMyGov. To sign up for TextMyGov, text Clawson to 91896. This will sign you up for notifications from the City of Clawson regarding infrastructure updates and much more. In other infrastructure news, both the Elmwood Road reconstruction project and Maple Water Main project are nearly completed with only restoration underway. The Leroy Goodale North Chalkley Water Main is ongoing with tie-in scheduled, final tie-in scheduled for Leroy next week, with only restoration needed at Goodale Court and North Chalkley. For the 2 projects approved at the last meeting, South Washington Road reconstruction and Dreon School, Stephen Road, and Water Main project, we're looking at scheduling pre-construction meetings in the next few weeks, with work starting early fall. I would like to thank everyone who attended the Parkland Park Block Party last Tuesday and the Parks and Recreation Open House yesterday evening. The open house last night was highlighted by a presentation on the conceptual plans for City Park and Hunter Community Center, and also talked about pathways around Clawson Park. I would like to shout out Scott, Lisa, and the entire Parks and Recreation team for coordinating both of these successful events. The next edition of the Clawson Pulse has been sent to print. We expect this to be delivered to homes the first week of August. I'll wrap up by highlighting 2 events that we have upcoming in Clawson and specifically downtown. This Saturday, July 25th, from 6 to 9 p.m., we have the Cinema in the Street. Join us to watch Star Wars, and it's the second one? The Last Jedi. And then a couple weeks after that, on August 8th in downtown, we have the Down on Main Street car show from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, just a reminder, due to the August primary election on August 4th, the city council meeting is canceled, and we will meet again on the 18th, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So the walkways in the park is not anything that's in the works that the resident asked about, but it's part of the conceptual things they're talking about?
Yes, so the premise of the conversation about all the parks is we have felt for a long time when we're looking at improvements to the park, we're like, that sounds good right there. And then we just throw a play structure there. And so what we're hoping to do is identify what exactly we think fits in Clawson Park and where. That way we have a better long-term plan of what type of improvements we're making. Obviously, if more are planned at one time, that would include funding options, which is all part of this discussion. But the primary purpose is to identify what exactly we think we want in our parks and where, so we know the future where they'll be, where they're going to end up.
And from what I get, and I did come in the middle of the presentation yesterday, but it seems like it's a holistic approach. We're not going to just repave the walkways, or they're looking at like, okay, what direction are we going to do holistically, and then we'll start piecemealing it from there.
Correct.
So in regard to, again, talking about everyone's favorite topic, the TAPs, was there any investigation into funding or other funding, or is that part of what you potentially will be looking at to present on the 18th?
So we have, yes, we just don't have anything to share right now, and by the 18th, I expect to have a few different options that'll vary in what they mean from grants, et cetera.
Very cool. Anyone, any other questions? Councilmember Tinley?
Yeah, I keep my little calendar here. So I was just wondering, we had that nice discussion about the residential night parking permit strategy.
Oh.
Is that coming back at any point?
That'll be back in front of you also on the 18th.
Okay.
So
Thank
make sure
you.
to block out a couple hours on that Tuesday night.
All right, thanks.
Go ahead.
The city manager's review, that was up for the second meeting in August. Since we're not having the first meeting, is that still going to be, do we know?
That is a great question that I don't have the answer to. I'd look to the attorney on previous discussions on that.
I believe that was the original plan that council laid out. I'm not sure whether it makes sense, probably given some of the subject matter that you have. It may have to be pushed further down to the next meeting in September, but I believe that was what council articulated initially, or at least I should say, the city manager articulated initially to council.
Nick, there's actually, we have guidance and ordinance on that. Is there a due date for that review to be done? Because I remember historically that it sometimes, kept getting pushed back.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to take a look.
Okay.
We can include that in one of the Friday feedbacks on timeline.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? All right. City council comments. Councilmember Peltonen.
Okay, so I finally made it to a historical commission meeting, so I did get to meet all of our new or reappointed people, so that was nice. And the museum has central air, so that's also good to know. And then I just wanted to let people know about, I didn't know that it was happening before they put out the little canvases, but the tiny art show reception at the library is tomorrow from 6 to 8. And they say there will be snacks, so that might be fun to go and check out. And the library is also air-conditioned for people that would like to know. And they also have the Pause to Read this Friday from noon to 1:30, and you call the library to sign up for a 15-minute appointment to read to a therapy dog. And the Clausen Youth Soccer registration is open until July 31st for the fall season. So that's...
Thank you. Councilmember Spishak.
Nothing else from me. It's been a fun
Keeping
meeting.
them on their toes.
Oh, well, I guess we have our golf outing on Monday. That is exciting. Sorry, my brain's a little melted today. And then, yeah, if anybody has any other questions or recommendations for the resource fair, please reach out to me. I would love to see anybody else added to the list of people who will be there.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke.
Nothing for me.
Councilmember Tinley.
Well, I always have a couple. Just thank everyone in the audience and also the council for some good constructive dialogue. And just for fun, it's National Junk Food Day. So if you're sitting there still watching TV, go and celebrate that National Junk Food Day. So have some fun too. All right, that's it.
Councilmember Slawinski.
I have nothing tonight.
Councilmember Duberstein.
I always have something. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just real quick want to recognize, well, first I want to congratulate Mayor Moffett on the birth of her new granddaughter. Excited for you as you step into this new chapter of grandparenting. I also want to give a couple of recognitions here. Had a couple great conversations with Commissioner Lubes. It's been lovely talking with her about various things, ways we can collaborate. Also want to recognize Mr. Raker for his service as he's with the Navy this next couple weeks. Thank him for that. I want to thank Reverend Manning for a great conversation after the last city council meeting. I didn't realize how much he did for exchange students, and I think that's really cool. I want to recognize Mr. Stepnitz for helping out, for being a great acting city manager. Is that the proper term, I believe? And he really, he even helped out yesterday at the open house, lifting chairs, which you don't really see a lot of executives doing, but I have to commend him for that. And also Kristen for what she's doing with Cinema in the Street and all the programs she's planned. I had a wonderful conversation yesterday with Leah and talking about the museum and just different programs over there. It's pretty cool. I have to shout out the Parks and Rec staff again for the great stuff they've been doing lately with the open house and the program over in Parkland Park. And then to my neighbor Catherine is watching tonight, and I just wanted to recognize her. One question, I guess, and I'm not 100% sure who to direct it to. I'd like to add a couple of things to the agenda for the next meeting, if that's possible. Is that something?
Well, how about you make a motion?
Okay. May I make a motion to? Thank you, Mayor. So, I'd like to make a motion to add 3 items to the agenda, if I could. Those items would be.
Can you do a motion for each so that
Okay,
we can
motion for
approve
each?
or deny?
Okay, thank you. I'm still learning this. I'd like to make a motion to reduce the amount of minutes for speakers from 4 back to 3 to get it in line with most other bodies. Most other bodies do.
So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second for that?
Support.
So for a discussion of that, I think that was something that came about. There was a lot, at the end of last year, there was a lot of consternation about the limited amount of time that people were given to speak. And so that was in response to concerns from the public to make it to 4 minutes. So, but, I mean, if we can have a roll call and see if we want to put that on the agenda. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, even if we do keep it at 4, I think just having a conversation on rules and procedures, because even though we do consistently say on the agenda, not on the agenda, and then today where we had people come up and utilize, 4 minutes, extra
Fair.
4 minutes, I think having a deeper conversation on that is important because even though we are only at 9:30, we have had quite a few long meetings, and I think just keeping things for point of order is important.
And I think your point is well taken. I think going forward, that is something that I am going to employ. I'll include it in my little diatribe before people come up. You get one shot, and we're not going to allow people to come up a second time going forward, because it did get a little out of hand today. So I think that's, that's just something I'll start including going forward.
Yeah, and I want to echo the one I also just said, because I do think that we need to make sure for on the agenda, not on the agenda. We did have 2 comments that were for items not on the agenda that were
I struggle with that, because I don't ever want to, we had a lot of problems in the past with people's freedom of speech being, infringed upon. And so, so I don't want to stop people mid-sentence for getting their thoughts out, but I guess we'll just have to make a plea for the public for being more respectful of those different categories and keeping to what it's supposed to be about.
Yeah, and I don't want to retract anybody's freedom of speech at all. I want to hear it.
Right.
But we do have specific sections, and for the last several meetings, we've had people who come up and reiterate the same thing that's been on there. So I just want to make sure that we are holding true to that, and if that means that we need to say point of order, I'll make sure to say that out loud. I have no problem doing that. I just want to make sure that we are being consistent when we're setting those rules forward.
Fair. Anyone else? All right, roll call on the motion to put on the agenda changing from 4 minutes to 3 minutes.
Councilmember Spishak,
Yes.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
No.
Councilmember Duberstein,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski.
Yes.
All right, so we've made the motion that be included on the agenda for the next council meeting. What's your next one?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The next one is, I'd like to make a motion that proclamations be given under the sole authority of the mayors and the council does not vote on them.
Support.
Support. Mr. Nushai, that practice is based on something that you and I talked about, and I think that as the chair of the meeting, it's up to my discretion whether or not I want to make a motion for a proclamation or to have the council vote on accepting a proclamation or not as part of running the meeting. So that's not something that could be dictated by anything other than my purview overseeing the meeting, right?
It's a complex sentence, but yes, basically, in so many words, you can't force a vote, right?
Right. Well, I can't be forced to not have a motion to accept or deny a proclamation.
I'm sorry, one more time. Sorry.
So what his motion is that I stop making motions whether or not the council wants to accept or deny the proclamation. And I think that is solely under my purview is running the meeting. So even if we had a discussion and everyone made a motion that I couldn't do that, I still could do that by virtue of running the meeting.
On your own, yes, by virtue of your own, yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that would be a moot conversation. That's up to my discretion as the person running the meeting.
Well,
I have a question.
If I may, I don't know that it's a moot conversation. It would be an issue every single time if you opted to say so, right? But they could still, for purposes of their vote.
They could say no,
Right.
but they can't prohibit me from having making the motion
correct.
to do it.
That's correct. But I don't believe that's Mr. Duberstein's motion.
No, all I'm saying is that
for
I believe
clarification,
that
sorry.
Mayor Moffett should be able to issue proclamations without us having to necessarily approve them.
And I do that. It's my choice it's not on the agenda that it be approved or not. It's my choice to, and the reason being that a lot of times it's saying that the whole council agrees with these things, and that's why I do it, to make it more of a collaborative thing than just me issuing it. So it's not anything that's been required. It's something that I've done as a matter of choice.
Okay. No, thank you.
So I have a question, since we're talking about it. In the beginning, we had a proclamation and all of our names were on it. And then we got copies ahead of time, we were able to read it, and then we were able to understand whether we wanted to agree with it or not. But then we started getting them, there was a couple, it didn't have our names on it, had your name on it, but yet then you asked us to motion and vote. So I was wondering, I mentioned this a while back, where does it say in the rules and procedures what the actual procedure is for doing that?
I don't, now you caught me off guard because I didn't have it obviously in front of me, but, we do, the mayor, by virtue of being the mayor of the city of Clawson, is part of her purview to be able to pass a proclamation, right?
I understand that, but consistency,
Oh, and
is there a way, the proper way to do it, or does it not matter? That I'm just trying to figure out.
well, that being the mayor's purview, she is the one that ultimately in this particular narrowly focused, because we're talking about a proclamation, right? It's not binding you to action per se. Given the mayor's explanation, that could be a process, but she can sort of designate this process. I believe Mr. Duberstein's, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe Mr. Duberstein's motion is an attempt to precisely do that, to have a process designated, right? And it would be in some, and I'll give you my experience from other municipalities, in a lot of other municipalities, that portion of it, the portion of the proclamation, it may be something that is usually, put under the consent agenda, pursuant to the mayor. Once voted on the consent agenda, it is approved, and then on either the mayor or the council's free time, away separate and distinct from any action of the council during a council meeting, then you issue the proclamation, you go to wherever, I don't know, Boy Scout, Girl Scout troop, and you present them the proclamation. So there's a lot of ways to do it. I don't know if there's a right way or a wrong way. Obviously, Mayor Moffett has opted for this particular path, as is her purview.
There, so I think at the end of the day, it is something that's under the purview of running the meeting and whatnot, right?
So
Go ahead.
since we're just talking about the motion, right, still?
Uh-huh.
So, I wasn't going to say anything, but, I've been looking at, I've had some questions about the proclamation process. So I've been looking at other communities. As a matter of fact, Troy has an excellent program where they've modernized. They don't depend totally on proclamations. They have letters of achievement that can be issued by a standard process. That doesn't mean council involvement. They did it more to streamline their activity. Plus, they also, I believe, have an annual Citizen Appreciation Day with categories. So I was going to, at some point, bring up a point, maybe looking at just modernizing our whole proclamation process, where that's a traditional mayor-driven, and there's other alternatives acknowledging citizens' dedication, like planning commissioners have served 14 years, right? Having a letter of appreciation first and going through a formal council process.
We used to, back in the day, have an employee and citizen appreciation day. Do you remember that? I don't know who it was. Yeah, that was back probably in 17, and then that got taken away for, I think, financials. Were you here? Do you remember that?
No, I missed the last one, and I was hired after it, so I didn't get to partake. But I believe the reason that they stopped it is because that there was an issue with,
Spending
there was
the
a picnic
money.
at the park, and I think a majority of the food goods provided were donations, and there was an issue with people providing things to the city staff, and so
Right.
that doesn't mean we can't acknowledge staff in another way going forward, but that is why that picnic stopped.
Yeah.
And on that note, if I may, maybe it's important to have on a future agenda, maybe not the 18th, but that's council's prerogative, a discussion on proclamations and acknowledgements as a whole, so we can all come to the same consensus on how that works.
If I may, because I do have the answer to Councilwoman Slawinski's question, it's section 405 of the Code of Ordinances, Mayor Powers, Duties, Mayor Pro Tem Election. And it says, Mayor shall be a voting member of and the presiding officer of the City of Clawson and Chief Executive Officer of the city, and relevant part, shall be recognized as the head of the city government for all ceremonial purposes. That's where it stems from, right? That's a common recognition that mayor may issue proclamations.
Okay. So do you want to keep your motion in place, or do you want to withdraw it?
I'll go ahead and withdraw it. I was just wanted to have the conversation, so I appreciate your graciousness in having it.
And you
Everybody's
have one more motion?
Well, yes, I'd like to make a motion to talk about, should there be a vacancy on council and somebody hasn't paid a bill to the city, would it be prudent, and maybe this is already being done, to notify, give them maybe 24 hours or 48 hours to fix the situation?
I'll support that so we can have discussion.
Okay. So I think there's already a process in place as far as, so it is actually, this might be a question for the city clerk, in the documents that you complete when you run, one of the questions is, do you have any obligations or whatever? Are you in debt or whatever? Do you owe the
Default.
city any money? Go ahead.
Yeah, you're in default. You admit.
Default, that's the word. Right, so that is part of the questions, the affidavit that people sign when they're running. And so, in my mind, the assumption is that when you sign the affidavit to say, I'm not in default, you should know if you're in default or not. You're making that affidavit when you're submitting your paperwork. So to babysit the person and come back and say, oh, you really are, yeah.
I'm curious, Madam Mayor, but for purposes of appointment, rather than election, would that still hold? Would it be?
When we had the vacancies, we published all the criteria of what you needed to
So it's
meet in
along
order
the
to
same
hold
lines.
office, yeah.
Same lines, man.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it's.
thank you.
Okay. Do you want to withdraw your motion?
I'll go ahead and withdraw. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
all right.
This has been instructive. I appreciate it.
Okay, all right, good. All right, so the one that passed was to put on the agenda the 4 to 3 minutes. So, yeah. All right. So everybody's all set except for me. I do want to talk about cinema in the street. The expense of the screen is something that the DDA usually looks for sponsors for. and each sponsorship is $100. And I understand we are, what'd we say before, 6 short? So if anyone wants to sponsor the screen, she made a Superfly logo for the people that sponsor it, and that'll be shown to everyone. So if you would like to help sponsor Cinema in the Street, $100 will get you a logo and love and adoration from all the DDA. So contact Kristen if you are interested in sponsoring the screen for Cinema in the Street for this Saturday. And that is, as Mr. Stepniks, I always say it wrong, mentioned, that's this Saturday from 6 to 9. Whenever the
When the
movie's
movie
over.
ends. We're saying 9.
And also, there's also the market, which has an extended period of time. It is from 3 until 8 when the movie starts. So come down and shop and buy stuff and check out the downtown area. And that is really all that I have. Thank you for mentioning Millie. Millie's here. Can't wait till she sees Clausen. That's all I got. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Tinlin,
Yes.
Mayor Moffett,
Yes.
Councilmember Duberstein,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem O'Rourke,
Yes.
Councilmember Peltonen,
Yes.
Councilmember Slawinski,
Yes.
Councilmember Spishak.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone who came out today and participated. We appreciate all of you.
Yeah.